Hi everybody, it's Julia, your trusted travel expert, helping you find that je ne sais quoi wherever you are in the world. And there's been a lot of kind of scary or shocking things I've seen in the news about travel just in the last couple of days. And I just wanted to make sure that hearing a news story, one random news story of, one random act of violence doesn't put you off. Because I know a lot of people, will hear I'm going to some country and they'll say, oh, is that safe? Was it safe to go there? Or I can't believe that they're going to this part of the world. I would never go to that part of the world. And that always upsets me. And since there were these news stories recently, I just sort of wanted to address that and kind of talk you through why you shouldn't let fear win, basically, or why you shouldn't be afraid to travel. So the crazy stories that I've just seen in literally the last few days. There's a famous travel blogger that I follow called Nomadic Matt. I've talked about him before. He is very focused on getting people out into the world and traveling on a budget, and how you can travel on a very small budget, because that's his passion, which is wonderful. And he travels all the time. I think he's living in Paris right now, but he was on a long trip to Colombia and apparently got mugged, or attempted mugging, and in the mugging the guy had a knife, and so he got kind of stabbed in Bogota, which is awful. So he didn't write about it, but until just recently, he posted a blog article about it, and he was talking about how he didn't want to post it because it would reinforce all the negative stereotypes in Colombia, and those are actually what he found not to be true. And so it's a really interesting article. I'll post it in the comments, but I really loved a lot of what he had to say about why this very violent thing that happened to him is not going to keep him from even going back to Colombia, and how much he still loves that country just because something bad happened to him there didn't change his opinion. Another thing that just happened, and it's, I don't think, resolved even yet, is apparently an American tourist was kidnapped, or is kidnapped, from Uganda. They were on safari there, and it was near the border of Congo, and the Congo has been in just terrible shape politically, and it's not a good situation in the Congo. And unfortunately Uganda borders it, and I don't know if this group, or I don't know all the specifics of it, but apparently that did happen. Now Uganda has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of tourists that go there every year to visit the gorillas. It's next door to Rwanda, which of course had its terrible past, but it's also an extremely popular place to go and see the gorillas. And you just think about all of those hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people that have gone there with no issues. So generally you're going to be fine. There's also a sort of more natural disaster kind of side of things. The Viking ship, a week or so ago, got stranded off the coast of Norway in crazy seas, and they were airlifting people off. It sounded awful and it sounded terrifying, but is that going to keep me from going on a cruise up the Norwegian coast? No, are you kidding me? It's gorgeous. I might not choose to go in March, where it's still kind of winter and the weather's maybe not great, but there are some people that really want to see the Aurora Borealis, and a cruise is an easy way to do that. So that's where their heads were, I guess. But those are three kind of big things. And also the plane crashes. We've grounded that one brand of, or model of plane, because there has been 2 crashes over the last 6 months or something. And yes, they need to figure out what's wrong with that plane, but you think about all the millions of people that fly every single day without any incidents. So basically you can't let fear win, is what I'm getting at, because crazy things are always going to happen, and you can't live your life in fear, and you can't control what it might happen anywhere in the world. Also, Europeans, just as a side note, Europeans, especially some of my European friends that have lived in the US, they kind of laugh when they hear that Americans are worried about going abroad, because America has its own issues with violence. We are far more likely to have issues, or you're far more likely to die of gun violence in America than you are in almost any other place in the world. It happens all the time here, and so we're desensitized to it. But people don't just get shot by gun violence generally everywhere else in the world. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if you let fear win and you don't go to, all these interesting countries that maybe are developing, that aren't as luxurious and modern as ours, you lose out. I mean, you're the one that's losing, is you're losing out on really rich cultural experiences, really delicious foods, really interesting sights, beautiful natural wonders, and all that good stuff. So you can't let fear guide your life. So, there are obviously some things you can do to lessen, if you are nervous about leaving the country. One of the things, there are lots of common sense safety precautions you should always take, and that's whether you're in the country or not, whether you're abroad or not. Don't wave your valuables around. I don't use a money belt or anything like that, but that's an extra precaution that a lot of people feel more comfortable with, so go for it. Especially for women, don't walk alone at night in not well lit areas. Make sure that you know where you're going, because when you're lost, that makes things even more nerve-wracking. You want to use your hotel safe to put, things like your passport or your valuables in. A really good tip for this, actually, this is a side note, so that you don't forget those valuables in the safe when you're checking out, put the shoe that you're going to wear home, or put a shoe in the safe. I think that's a genius tip, because it happens all the time that people put their passports in the hotel safe, which is great, but then they forget them and then they're screwed. So I love that tip. Put a shoe in the safe with your passport so you don't forget it. Also, having a copy of your passport, maybe your credit cards, either on your email, or ideally like an actual paper copy stuck in like the corner of your suitcase or something like that. That's a really good thing to travel, just in case you do lose it or are pickpocketed or something like that. It's easier to get a replacement if you've got a copy of it. You want to dress conservatively, like I said, know where you're going, don't get lost. Those are sort of common sense, no matter how you're traveling. But even if still makes you nervous and you still aren't comfortable going alone, then don't go alone. Go with an expert. Go with a tour group, with a company that's an expert in the region. All the tour companies I talk about are very reputable, and definitely make sure they take care of their guests. Abercrombie & Kent has a wonderful story about their guests that were in Egypt when the Arab Spring happened, and I think they were all evacuated or moved elsewhere from Cairo or wherever they were in Egypt at the time. They had, say, 200 guests there on various different trips. They were all evacuated or taken care of within 24 hours. So, when you're with a company, especially like Abercrombie & Kent, that has offices all over the world, they can really react quickly and really make sure that you're safe if something happens to happen in the country that you're in. The State Department has a great program. I want to say it's called STEM, but I don't think that's it. I can't believe I'm blanking on it right now. I'll post that as well. That's a good thing, so that when you're registered that you're going to be in this country for these dates to these dates, the State Department will alert you if there's anything to know about, if there's anything dangerous or protests are going on or something like that. So that's a good thing to have. Also, use local guides. Even if you are traveling solo or just independently, which a lot of my clients do, make sure you've got a local guide on like day one of your trip, at least, if not every day, because they'll tell you, where to go, what not to go. They'll let you know what the deal is with that particular country. Another thing to do if you're nervous about traveling abroad is always make sure that all of your transportation from place to place is planned out and pre-booked and prepaid, so you don't have to worry about negotiating with taxi drivers or you getting cash out on the street or anything like that, or flagging down taxis or anything like that. So if that's another really good thing to do. Finally, on that note, with Uber, unfortunately, again, here in the US, University of South Carolina girl was just murdered because she got in a car because she thought it was her Uber and it wasn't. So that's just another reminder that terrible things can happen to you no matter where you are. And if you're taking an Uber or a Lyft or a rideshare kind of taxi service, you want to make sure that you match the license plates. That's always the first thing to do. And then secondly, the thing to do is ask them who they're here to pick up, to make sure that they know that they're picking you up. So they say your name instead of you saying, "Hi, I'm Julia," and then get in the car. So just to let you know, crazy bad things can happen anywhere at any time. So you can't let that make your decisions for you. You have to live your life, go and see the world. It's fabulous, exciting, wonderful place, and get out there and explore, because you will be a better, well-educated, more well-rounded, happier person. So get out there. I'll talk to you next week.